printed in Part B of House Report 115.295. For what purpose does the gentleman from Alabama seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk ending in 33.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 33, printed in Part B of House Report number 115-295, offered by Mr. Brooks of Alabama.
Pursuant to House Resolution 500, the gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Brooks, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Alabama.
Mr. Chairman, America suffered 4 consecutive trillion-dollar per year deficits during the Obama and Bush administrations. The election of a Republican House in 2010 brought progress. The trillion-dollar per year deficits were cut to a low of $439 billion in fiscal year 2015. A $439 billion deficit is still horrible, but it is a whole lot better than a trillion-dollar deficit. Unfortunately, America's solvency has deteriorated since 2015. In fiscal year 2016, America's deficit exploded to $587 billion, $148 billion worse than the previous year. In fiscal year 2017, this fiscal year, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projects the deficit will again explode to $693 billion, $145 billion worse this year than last year, and that is before the bill comes due for the Hurricane Harvey destruction in Louisiana and Texas. Congress will soon raise America's debt ceiling. As a result, and within days thereafter, America's debt will blow through the $20 trillion mark. As a result of America's $20 trillion debt, we pay over $250 billion per year in debt service. How much is $250 billion? It's roughly 5 times what we spend on transportation for things like highways, bridges, and interstates each year. That debt service money is gone, no longer able to provide services to Americans. Rather, it is spent to make amends for past government excesses and irresponsible spending. Worse yet, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projects that America's debt service costs will increase by another $600 billion within a decade to more than $800 billion per year. The question is then asked, where is that money going to come from? What's going to be cut? Will it be Social Security? Will it be Medicare, Medicaid, national defense? What? The CBO, America's Comptroller General Gene Dodaro, and the Government Accountability Office have all warned Congress and the President in writing that America's deficits and debt pass are, quote, unsustainable, end quote. To be clear, in the accounting field, the word unsustainable is bad, really bad. It is the equivalent of a bankruptcy warning. It is a warning that America is headed to a debilitating insolvency and bankruptcy if we don't do better. In sum, Washington's financial irresponsibility is a betrayal of the American people. It's pushing America into a debilitating bankruptcy and insolvency that will destroy the American dream for our children and grandchildren. It is in this setting that I beseech the House of Representatives to be financially responsible. Please support my amendment that eliminates federal government operating subsidies of Amtrak, thus forcing Amtrak passengers to pay their actual costs of riding on Amtrak trains. Stated differently, what policy justification is there for forcing Americans who don't use Amtrak to subsidize the travel of Americans who do use Amtrak? I know of none. How bad is the Amtrak subsidy problem? The Congressional Research Service reports that from 1971 to 2015, federal Amtrak subsidies totaled $78 billion in constant 2015 dollars. In fiscal year 2014, Amtrak had a net loss of $1.1 billion. Who will pay for that loss? America's children and grandchildren, that is who, because that's money we don't have to borrow to get and cannot afford to pay back. Instead of allowing Amtrak to continue to run up debts and add to our national debt, we should force Amtrak to be self-sufficient. We should force Amtrak passengers to pay their own travel costs. We must cut Amtrak from the government dole. We don't give these kind of subsidies to people who ride on airplanes. We don't give these kind of subsidies in a lot of other means of transportation. Mr. Speaker, I ask for a yes vote. Be financially responsible. Make Amtrak pay its own way. Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. Does the member seek time in opposition? The gentleman from Florida is recognized for 5 minutes in opposition.
Thank you, Mr.